Okay, let's unpack this. We often hear the glamorous stories of startups soaring to success, but what about the foundational work that happens before the launch? Before even quitting your current job. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the essential personal and financial preparation required for anyone really considering the leap into founderhood. You've shared a stack of incredible insights from seasoned entrepreneurs and leaders, and our mission today is to extract the most important nuggets to help you prepare for this incredibly bumpy, yet hopefully rewarding journey.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is how much of this critical pre-startup work isn't really about the product itself. It's about the founder. It's
Yeah.
about setting yourself up for resilience and making calculated choices rather than desperate ones. We'll look at building financial stability, choosing the right co-founder, preparing emotionally, and formalizing your initial plan.
That's a powerful framing right from the start, focusing on the founder. So, if we're talking about laying groundwork, where do we even begin? My gut says money, and these sources seem to agree. Let's kick things off with arguably one of the most practical, yet often underestimated aspects financial resilience.
Absolutely. The crucial cushion here, as the sources repeatedly emphasize, is building up, say, 6 to 12 months of savings
Hmm.
or securing alternative income streams. This financial buffer isn't just about covering bills. It provides critical mental space, room for strategic thinking and, calculated risks.
Right.
Without it, you might find yourself making desperate moves. Cutting things too close can be incredibly dangerous for a brand new venture.
And it's not just about avoiding, being broke. It's about freeing up your cognitive bandwidth,
Yeah.
right? When your basic survival isn't a constant stressor, your brain is actually more effective at complex problem solving, something every founder desperately needs. Beyond simply having a buffer, how deep does this frugality mindset need to go? Is it about being a bootstrap startup forever or more of a temporary survival thing until you get funding?
That's an excellent distinction. While some startups do bootstrap long-term, the sources highlight this as a foundational mindset, a practice, not necessarily a permanent state. Take Location Labs founder, Rumeli. He built his first website for just $1,500. Can you believe that? And
Wow.
furnished his office with secondhand items. But what really sealed the deal with investors wasn't just the cheap setup, it was his unwavering commitment to this slow burn strategy.
So they saw it as proof of concept for his approach.
Precisely. They saw it as a sign of resilience and, importantly, resourcefulness.
He truly walked the talk then. For 2 years, he was the founder, CEO, product guy, UI guy, even managed office logistics like payroll and HR. He did all these roles himself, even when VCs were pushing him to spend and hire VPs for every department.
hmm
He said no, demonstrating a profound dedication to getting the most out of limited resources. It's a powerful example of practicing what you preach.
And it's not just about starting lean, it's about staying lean. One insight that really caught my attention was how common it is for founders to neglect their burn rate.
Right, how quickly you're spending cash.
Exactly. The sources emphasize keeping close, everyday tabs on it, not just, waiting for board meetings.
Yeah.
It's kind of shocking how many startup CEOs only check in when a meeting is coming up, only to realize they've way overshot.
I can see how easy it would be to fall into that trap, yeah. And that directly ties into sustainable growth, doesn't it?
It does.
Because focusing only on growth without understanding your unit economics, essentially, the profitability of each customer or transaction like LTV versus CAC.
Customer lifetime value versus customer acquisition cost. Yeah.
Yeah, that can be incredibly perilous. It sounds like you could quickly find yourself spending, what, $20 to make $10.
You absolutely could.
Huh?
Or you could end up in a situation where your payback period, the time it takes to get back the money you spent acquiring a customer, is so high, it forces a choice between rapid growth and, just staying alive.
Ouch.
The goal is to avoid making commitments today that your future self will not be able to afford. It's a call for ruthless honesty about your financial reality right from day one.
Okay. We've talked about the crucial financial runway, which gives you individual resilience. But what if you're not going solo? Then the stakes multiply, because choosing a co-founder becomes arguably the single most critical partnership decision a founder makes. It's like a business marriage, right? Complete with all the potential ups and downs.
It really is. And the key isn't to find a clone of yourself. That's a common mistake. The sources strongly emphasize looking for complementary skills. Think sales and marketing paired with product and engineering, or, other combinations depending on the business.
Makes sense.
A great example is the CEO of Pocket. He had strong engineering and product experience. Their first design hire, Nikki, completely transformed the product's rather basic black and yellow color scheme into what it is today. He said she made it better than I could have.
That really highlights the power of bringing in diverse expertise, filling your own skill gaps.
Exactly.
That's a practical angle, focusing on skills. But what about compatibility? I mean, you're going to be spending so much time together under pressure. The idea of dating first is super interesting here. You engage in intense activity periods like a hack weekend or maybe a 30-day working sprint
Yeah, something concentrated.
to really assess working patterns, how you handle conflict, if your work ethics actually mesh. It sounds like a crash course in partnership.
It absolutely is. And some founders take that dating concept to, well, an extreme, but in a good way. Gloria Lynn, before finding her partner for Sightline, apparently dated 6 different potential co-founders over a whole year.
6.
Yeah. And she even used a 50-question questionnaire, 50 questions, spanning 6 categories to deeply probe compatibility.
That's intense. What kind of categories?
Things like motivations, fears, work styles, values, the deep stuff. She's convinced that many co-founding pairs fall apart because, quote, they didn't understand each other's motivations and fears at a deep level.
It's almost like premarital counseling for co-founders.
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow, a 50-question deep dive that's thorough. It speaks to the importance of clear roles, too, I guess.
Definitely.
If you have co-founders, each must step in to discuss their area of expertise and jurisdiction, reinforcing that need for complementary skills and defined responsibilities. Prevents stepping on toes later.
Right. So once you sorted out the money and hopefully the team, it seems the next frontier is an internal one.
The emotional roller coaster.
Indeed. So we've covered the practical foundations, your money, your team. But what about the internal work? Because entrepreneurship, as these sources universally describe it, is an incredibly bumpy journey. It's filled with immense emotional challenges.
It's so easy to think emotions should be kept separate from work, but that Liz Foslian insight is so vital here. Being in tune with your emotions makes you smarter overall. Emotions should not be cast aside, but recognized for what they are. It's about leveraging them as a strength somehow.
Yeah.
But that sounds easier said than done when you're, staring down potential failure.
It truly is. And that's why the sources stress the importance of identifying your fears, whether it's failure, judgment, financial instability, whatever it is for you, and then converting them into tactical steps, things you can actually do.
Okay.
It's a stark reality that even those CEOs who are crushing it are privately emotionally spent and worrying. It can be a very lonely road, and just acknowledging that is the first step toward managing it.
So if it's such a lonely road, how do founders combat that isolation and emotional drain? Building circles of trust and fostering psychological safety seems key.
Absolutely.
We read about environments where people are explicitly encouraged to be yourself and don't be afraid to say this is hard or I'm worried I can't do this.
Yeah, creating that space.
Sometimes just having a senior person share a story about a recent difficulty or failure can kind of seed that vulnerability for the whole group, makes it okay for others.
And this self-awareness extends to a concept called MESAT.
MESAT. Like employee satisfaction, but for yourself?
Kind of, yeah. It's essentially evaluating your own satisfaction. Think of MESAT as an internal diagnostic tool. Just like you'd analyze customer churn, MESAT helps you identify your own personal churn points, those moments of internal dissatisfaction that just erode your focus and motivation.
Interesting.
It encourages you to turn that critical lens, often used for customer or employee satisfaction, onto yourself. Noting sensations and emotions that trigger distraction like boredom, loneliness, uncertainty, fear, and then meet those internal triggers head on.
That's fascinating, a proactive approach to your own mental well-being. And as you delve into that self-reflection, it often means radical self-inquiry and letting go of your ego.
Definitely ego.
There's a powerful quote mentioned, "It ain't what you don't know that gets you in trouble, it's what you know for sure that just ain't so."
Classic.
It's a potent reminder to stay curious and open, even about your own strongest convictions.
And that open-mindedness also extends to knowing when to quit, which sounds wrong, but
Right. Seems counterintuitive for a founder.
it does. But the sources highlight that quitting is an underrated startup skill. Annie Duke's advice on overcoming status quo bias, that tendency we all have to stick with a plan even when the signals show it's failing, is critical here.
So how do you fight that bias?
She introduces kill criteria with specific states and dates. Like, if by this date I haven't achieved this particular state or milestone, then I'll quit this approach, or maybe even the venture.
Setting objective markers beforehand.
Exactly. Remove some emotion from the decision later. We heard a story about Orloff stepping down from LendUp after scaling it successfully. He realized, quote, something about the conversation struck a chord about his own need for balance, even when it looked like a success story from the outside.
That takes courage. What specific psychological hurdles do founders often face when considering quitting beyond just the financial implications?
Oh, that's a great question because it really does sound counterintuitive for a founder. Beyond the financial, there's often immense personal identity tied up in the venture, isn't there?
Totally.
Quitting can feel like admitting personal failure or letting people down, investors, employees, family. It takes a huge amount of self-awareness and emotional fortitude to override that status quo bias and make the strategic decision to step away or pivot hard.
Yeah, that makes sense. And finally, for emotional prep, let's remember founders need positive reinforcement too.
Oh, for sure.
It's important to ask for positive feedback sometimes, what they think you're doing well, and also to tell your employees they are making a difference. Because fundamentally, folks want to know what they're doing actually matters. Such a good point. Okay, so with all that personal and financial groundwork hopefully laid, the next logical step before you truly quit your job is to formalize your vision somewhat. This isn't about rigid 100-page business plans, but what we're calling the living business plan.
I really appreciate that framing a living plan. Forget just, throwing things at a wall until something sticks, which is often how the MVP, minimum viable product, gets interpreted.
Right, the spaghetti on the wall approach.
Exactly. Instead, the concept of a minimum viable test, or MVT, emphasizes taking time to actually discover a strategy first and then moving forward with conviction. The sources acknowledge that it takes 2 to 4 years to know if you're right. So this initial conviction, even if the details evolve, feels pretty crucial.
A core part of that MVT is crafting your core narrative. And there's a structured approach suggested. First, clearly state the problem you're solving. Then identify who has that problem. What's the real cost of that problem to them?
Next, look at what else is out there, the competition or alternatives. Then, crucially, what's changed. Why now? Why is your solution viable now?
Good question.
Then how does your product actually work? And finally, proof. What are your key metrics? Like for TalentBin, it was cost per hire, quality of hire, time to fill a role. You need some way to measure if it's working.
That's a comprehensive framework for outlining the vision. And what's fascinating is how this plan should be story-driven. Start with a story or a thesis, break it down into chapters almost.
Yeah, like acts in a play.
And then focus intensely on just the first 3 months, that first chapter. This feels very pragmatic. Is it really true that for a startup, anything planned out beyond a few weeks is almost assuredly wrong? That sounds extreme.
It sounds extreme, but it's probably closer to reality than most people admit. The key takeaway is, don't try to get detailed for longer than a few weeks out. At a startup, it's almost assuredly wrong past that. This isn't pessimism. It's just recognizing the fast-paced, iterative nature of startups.
Yeah.
You need to keep the plan flexible enough to adapt to new information and constant feedback, because the market will tell you what's right, not your initial brilliant assumptions.
The market has the final vote.
Always.
And when it comes time to present this vision, especially if you're looking for funding, Oren Jacob advises that a fundraising pitch is a live performance.
Totally.
You have to know it so well that it seems spontaneous, and please, never read your slides. Be ready to read the room and adjust your delivery, but always keep the story structure intact to build that compelling case for investment. It sounds like you need to be a storyteller as much as a strategist.
You absolutely do. And what's great about this living plan approach is how it adapts. Look at Labelbox, for example. They hadn't initially planned to raise venture capital.
Oh, interesting.
But they did end up raising money. Why? To keep up with the demand while offering a good customer experience. Their plan evolved based on real-world traction. It shows how even a formalized vision needs to be responsive, a living document.
This deep dive really brings home that founderhood isn't just about having a brilliant idea. It's so much about a deeply personal journey of preparation. From, financial pragmatism to emotional fortitude and strategic agility, every step you take before you quit that job really lays the groundwork for what's to come.
Yeah, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, it raises an important question for you, the listener. How might you start applying these insights to your own potential founder journey? Not just from a business standpoint, like writing a plan, but by truly investing in your own personal and emotional readiness, just as much as you invest time in your ideas. It's about recognizing that the internal landscape of a founder is just as critical, maybe even more critical sometimes, than the external market.